bring you up to speed with what's happening globally and in Nigeria. The top story says AI shapes India's 2024 election with deepfake democracy. Australia to construct largest navy since World War II. Defected Russian pilot slain in Spain. Chinese Coast Guard boats Taiwan's boat sparks panic. Putin gifts Kim Jong-un car, reports say. Stay with me for these and more stories. On elections, on November 30th last year, voters queued up early morning to vote in legislative polls to choose the next government of the southern Indian state of Telangana. A 7-second clip began going viral on social media. Posted on X by the Congress party, which is in opposition nationally and was in the state at the time, it showed KT Rama Rao, a leader of the Bharat Kshatriya Samiti that was ruling the state, calling on people to vote in favor of the Congress. According to a senior leader who requested anonymity, said the Congress shared it extensively on a range of WhatsApp groups operated unofficially by the party. It eventually ended up on the official X account of the party, viewed over 500,000 times. It was fake, of course. It was AI generated, though it looks completely real, the Congress party leader said, according to reports. But a normal voter will not be able to distinguish. Voting had started when the video was posted, and there was no time for the opposition campaign to control the damage. The sharply timed deepfake was a marker of the flood of AI-generated or manipulated media that flowed a series of elections in India's states in recent months, and that's now threatening to fundamentally shape the country's coming general elections. Between March and May, India's closely 1 billion voters will pick their next national government in the world's and history's biggest polls. The threat posed by deceptive AI-generated media caught the world's attention when fake sexually explicit images of the artist Taylor Swift appeared on social media platforms in January. In November, Ashwini Vaishnaw, India's information technology minister, called deepfake a threat to democracy, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has echoed those fears. But with the improved availability of handy artificial intelligence tools, teams across India's political parties, including Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress, are positioning deepfakes to influence voters, managers of closely 40 recent campaigns said. While several AI tools used to generate deepfakes are free, others are available on subscription for as little as 10 cents per video. The BJP, arguably India's most technologically sophisticated party, has been at the forefront of using illusions for campaign. As far back as 2012, the party used 3D hologram projections of Modi so that he could simultaneously campaign in dozens of places at the same time. The strategy was deployed widely during the 2014 general elections that brought Modi to power. There was little tricky involved there, but in February 2020, Manoj Tiwari, a BJP member of parliament, became among the world's first to use deepfakes for campaigning. The Dravida Munnetra Kazakam DMK, which rules the southern state of Tamil Nadu, in recent months has used AI to revive its iconic leader M. Karandunadi from the dead, using lifelike videos of the former movie writer and veteran politician at campaign events. Now, consultants and campaign managers say the 2024 elections could turbocharge the use of deepfakes even more. Australia has announced a decade-long plan to add its fleets of warships and enhance its defense spending by an additional 11.1 billion Australian dollars, that's 7.25 billion US dollars. On Tuesday, Defense Minister Richard Marles said that the government's plan would eventually add the Navy's surface combatant fleet to 26 from 11, the biggest since the end of World War II. He cited fears over growing geopolitical tensions as competition between the United States and its allies in China heats up in the Asia-Pacific region. Under the new plan, Marles said Australia will get 6 Hunter-class frigates, 11 general-purpose frigates, 3 air warfare destroyers, and 6 state-of-the-art surface warships that do not need to be crewed. At least some of the fleet will be armed with Tomahawk missiles capable of long-range strikes and aims deep inside enemy territory, a key deterrent capability. The minister said the large optional crewed surface vessels LSOV, which can be operated remotely, are being developed by the United States, will significantly boost the Navy's long-range strike capacity. The vessels could be launched by mid-2030s. Australia will also take measures to hasten the procurement of 11 general-purpose frigates to replace the aging Anzac-class ships, with the first 3 to be built overseas and expected to enter service before 2030. The announcement, which comes amidst Australian plans to obtain at least 3 US-designed nuclear-powered submarines, will see Canberra increase its defence spending to 2.5% of gross domestic product GDP, above the 2% target set by its NATO allies. Experts say that taking Australia is poised to develop significant naval capability, but the country's major defence projects have long been beset by cost overruns, government U-turns, policy changes and project plans that make more sense for local job creation than defence. Michael Showbridge, a former senior security official, said according to reports that the government must overcome past errors and had no more time to waste as competition in the region heats up. Now on Russia-Ukraine war, according to reports from Spain and Ukraine, the bullet-riddled body of a Russian pilot who defected to Ukraine last year has been discovered in a town in southern Spain. In a report on Monday, Maxim Kuzminov's body was found in an underground garage on February 13th in the town of Villajoyosa, situated near Alicante in southern Spain. Kuzminov, who had landed in Ukraine with his Mi-8 helicopter last August, have been living in Spain with a Ukrainian passport under a different name, it said. A spokesperson for Ukraine's GUR military intelligence confirmed that Kuzminov had died in Spain but did not specify the cause of death. According to reports from Ukraine that he had been found shot dead, spokesperson for the main intelligence directorate, Andriy Yusov, said in a commentary that we can confirm the fact of his death. Meanwhile, Spanish police confirmed that a body was found of a gunshot victim in the town, but did not reveal the victim's identity. A source at Spain's Guardia Civil Police Force said that the victim could have been living under a fake identity. According to more reports, investigators were searching for 2 suspects who had fled in a vehicle that was later found burned out in a nearby town. Kuzminov's defection to Ukraine was presented last year as a major coup for Kyiv. The pilot said the GUR had lured him into defecting. Reports citing a GUR source said Kuzminov had decided to go live in Spain instead of staying in Ukraine. His apparent killing in Spain comes to light after the death of Russian dissident Alexei Navalny in suspicious circumstances in a Siberian prison. On Monday, Chinese Coast Guard officials briefly boarded a Taiwanese cruise ship in an event the government in Taipei said stoked panic among the people of the self-ruled island. The incident near the Taiwanese Kinmen Islands off the coast of the Chinese cities of Xiamen and Guangzhou came a day after Beijing said it will ramp up patrols in the area in reaction to the deaths of 2 Chinese fishermen who drowned last week while being chased by the Taiwanese Coast Guard. Taiwan's Coast Guard said 6 Chinese officials boarded the Taiwanese tourist boat, which was carrying 11 crew members and 23 passengers, in a statement on Monday. The Chinese officials checked the boat's route plan, certificate and crew licenses and left about half an hour later. Taiwan's Coast Guard said it dispatched its personnel to the scene. They arrived shortly after their Chinese counterparts left the cruise ship and accompanied the ship all the way back to Shutu Port in Kinmen. It said there was no instant comment from Beijing, which claims Taiwan as its own territory. In Taipei, Quan Biling, the head of Taiwan's Ocean Affairs Council, condemned Beijing's actions. Kinmen is located just 53 kilometers, 5 kilometers rather, 3 miles from China's Xiamen, and has been controlled by Taipei since Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists fled to Taiwan in 1949 after losing a civil war with Mao Zedong's communists. Fishermen from Taiwan and China regularly sail the stretch of water between Kinmen and the Chinese mainland. On Wednesday, Taiwan said two 2 of 4 Chinese fishermen died after their boat capsized while fleeing the Taiwanese Coast Guard. It said their boat was fishing within prohibited waters about 1 nautical mile, 1.8 kilometers away from the Kinmen archipelago. The two survivors remain in Taiwan's custody. China issued a furious condemnation, and its Coast Guard said it would step up law enforcement patrols in the area. Gan Yu, a spokesperson for the Chinese Coast Guard, said in a statement on Sunday the patrols are projected to further maintain the order of operations in significant waters and protect the safety of fishermen's lives. Beijing has also called for the immediate release of the detained Chinese nationals. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles issues regarding Beijing, announced late on Monday that the families of the detained Chinese crew members are expected to arrive in Kinmen on Tuesday. According to a report, Kim Jong-un, North Korean leader, has been gifted a car by Russian leader President Vladimir Putin in gratitude of their special personal relations. The Russian-made car, the make and the model of which was not disclosed, was delivered to Kim's top aides, including his sister Kim Yo-jong, on February 18th for the North Korean leader's personal use, reports said on Monday. Kim Yo-jong cautiously conveyed Kim Jong-un's thanks to Putin to the Russian side, saying that the gift serves as a clear demonstration of the special personal relations between the top leaders of the DPRK and Russia, and as the best one, report said, referring to North Korea by its official name, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Putin gave appears to violate Moscow-backed United Nations sanctions against Pyongyang, which prohibited the supply of all transportation vehicles to North Korea. Kim is alleged to own a wide collection of high-end cars and has been spotted traveling in luxury models, including the Mercedes Maybach S600, Rolls-Royce Phantom, and Lexus LX 570. During his visit to Russia's Far East in September, Kim admired Putin's presidential Aurus Senate limousine and was invited by the Russian leader to sit in the back of the seat. Putin and Kim, both of whom are progressively isolated on the international stage, have forged closer ties since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. In October, Kim wished Putin victory over the imperialist anti-Russia Kim in a letter marking the 75th anniversary of their country's bilateral relations, according to reports. The United States and its ally South Korea have stated concern about mounting military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang. South Korea's spy agency said in November that Russia likely assisted North Korea's successful launch of spy satellites, which show Tokyo and Washington condemned as a pretext to test ballistic missile technology. On more stories on Israel-Gaza war, Israeli forces kill injured Gaza food aid seekers. According to witnesses and video, no less than one Palestinian man has been killed and several others injured in northern Gaza after Israeli forces opened fire on desperate crowds waiting for food aid. Footage on Monday showed Palestinians fleeing to take cover along a destroyed coastal road in northern Gaza, which has been almost totally cut off from aid amidst Israel's ongoing war, as the sound of heavy gunfire rings out. The videos also show clouds of grey fumes from smoke bombs billowing and thousands of Palestinians assembled in the area west of Gaza City. Reports said at least 10 people were also injured in that very attack. Victims and witnesses said the Israeli attack was unprovoked. The attack is the second of its kind in as many days and comes amidst a speedy deteriorating humanitarian situation in Gaza, where the United Nations has cautioned of famine-like conditions affecting some 2.3 million people. Despite the desperate situation, Israel, which controls entry points into Gaza, has refused to let more aid in. On Monday, several United Nations agencies cautioned that the alarming lack of food and water, as well as the spread of disease, could lead to an explosion of child deaths in Gaza. Ted Chain, UNICEF's Deputy Executive Director for Humanitarian Action, said, "We've been warning for weeks that the Gaza Strip is on the brink of a nutrition crisis. If the conflict doesn't end now, children's nutrition will continue to plummet, leading to preventable deaths or health issues which will affect the children of Gaza for the rest of their lives and have potential intergenerational consequences. At least 29,092 Palestinians, most of them women and children, have been killed in Israeli assaults since October 7th, when Hamas, which governs Gaza, launched a surprise attack inside southern Israel, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Some 1,139 people were killed in the Hamas attacks in Israel. Now in Africa, Guinea's military dissolves government. The military in Guinea, which seized power over 2 years ago, has dissolved the government in the West African nation and said it will appoint a new administration. In a video statement released on Monday, military leaders say that directors of cabinet, secretary generals and their deputies will be in charge until a new government was created. The government has been in office since July 2022. Amara Kamara, the presidency's secretary general, was boarded by other military officials and many armed and masked soldiers in the pre-recorded video when he delivered the surprising news. It is still unclear how the dissolution, which Kamara did not provide a reason for, will immediately affect the country or who the senior members of a new government will be. In September 2021, the military took power in a coup after the country's first democratically elected president, Alpha Conde, was ousted. Military leader Colonel Mamadi Damboya, under international pressure, had assured to hand the reins of government back to elected civilians by the end of 2024. The country's special forces led the coup after a long period of political tension in Guinea, which was first incited by Conde's highly controversial attempt for a third presidential term in 2020. The former president had emerged victorious in an election after pushing through a fresh constitution in March 2020 that led him to ignore the country's two-term limit for presidency and run for a third term. Lots of people had been killed at the time during protests against a third term for Conde after clashes with security forces. Hundreds more were arrested. The government had also arrested several prominent opposition members for their alleged role in inciting and abating electoral violence in Guinea. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the region's main economic and political bloc, has been pressuring the military to hold elections and restore civilian rule. The military leaders in Guinea and the ECOWAS had agreed on a 24-month transition timeline in October 2022. In just a moment, I'll bring you more stories from Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, stories from Nigeria. On economic crisis, protest trails continuous hardship in Nigeria. Yesterday, protesters in their hundreds disobeyed police warnings and staged peaceful demonstrations over economic hardship across different parts of Ibadan, Oyo State, calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for urgent intervention. The protesters, who took major areas within Ibadan metropolis yesterday morning, urged the president to quickly address the intense issues of insecurity, economic hardship and hunger faced by Nigerians. Recall that the Oyo State Police Command had cautioned against any protest without prior notice to the police before such action was embarked upon, saying it could be hijacked by unscrupulous elements. The police cautioned that it will not let any form of violation of public order that could lead to the breach of public peace. The protest was held in different parts of Ibadan, including Mokola, Iwo Road and Sango. The protesters, who were mostly youth, said they were fed up with the present state of affairs in Nigeria and were demanding an abrupt end to this crisis from the government. They had placards bearing different messages such as Tinubu must address insecurity, hunger is killing us, end food hike and inflation, the poor is starving, and Tinubu don't forget your promises, amongst others. The protesters also voiced concern about the high cost of living, which they said was making it difficult for people to afford basic supplies of life. The protest came at a time when Nigeria is facing extreme security challenges, including kidnappings, banditry, and attacks by terrorist groups. The biting economic hardship in Nigeria has continued to frustrate so many Nigerians, especially the youth, who have become desperate to flee the country in search of greener pastures in other countries. As hunger occasioned by growing prices of food items and essential materials spread across the country. Insecurity continues to rear its ugly head, and the added plague of poor purchasing power makes the situation even gloomier. The scourge of hunger and deprivation has found outlets in the frustration of the youth following the difficulties brought on by the policies of President Bola Tinubu, including the removal of fuel subsidy and floating of the Nigerian currency. The consequences of these policies have been rapid and sharp, with galloping inflation having a devastating impact on the Nigerian populace. In the last 7 months of the Tinubu administration, according to reports, thousands of Nigerians are known to have left the country, especially to Canada, United Kingdom, Belgium, Turkey, and to some obscure countries such as Cambodia in Asia. According to more reports, it appears to be the country where many Nigerians desire to travel to more than any other because of the less stringent conditions and the quest by the North American country to bring in skilled immigrants to add value to their economy. Still on economy matters, forex wars disrupt 2024 budgets. There are signs that the federal government may be forced to review the 2024 Appropriation Act, as recent developments in the foreign exchange market may have put the financial assumptions in total disarray. Sources close to the Finance Ministry said, according to reports, that all the major components of the budget have been affected fundamentally by an extreme change in the budget parameters occasioned by the present foreign exchange market realities. He pointed out that since the budget was passed into law, the official exchange rate benchmark was 800 naira to $1 has stimulated by almost 50% an increase which has equally doubled both US dollar-based revenue and expenditure. Consequently, the naira values have gone up by about 100%. The Senate approved the 2024 appropriation bill of 28.7 trillion naira against the 27.5 trillion naira estimate presented by President Bola Tinubu. The approved budget includes 1.7 trillion naira for statutory transfers, 8.7 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, and 9.9 trillion naira for capital expenditure. All these figures have now been significantly altered by the development in the benchmark exchange rate, which the Senate had moved from 750 naira to $1 presented by President Tinubu to 800 naira per dollar. Though the high-level Finance Ministry official said he doesn't have details of what is being done, he hinted that all the relevant ministries and government agencies are already working on what may become an amendment to the act. Financial experts also indicated that the just 6 weeks old budget has suffered a major dislocation following the massive depreciation of the naira across all foreign exchange market segments. According to their calculations, the implication on the 2024 budget is double-fold, with the revenue and expenditure rising at the same time. However, they warned that a more practical fiscal step is required to stop the deteriorating of the present economic situation. And finally, on the news, Labour mobilizes for protest, tanker strike stokes fuel queues. On Monday, the organized Labour started mobilizing its members for a nationwide protest schedule for February 27th and 28th over the cost of living crisis in the country. Sources in the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) said, according to reports, that the National Executive Council met via Zoom on Friday, February 16th, to review the resolution of the National Action Council of the NLC and the Trade Union Congress vis-a-vis organized labor agreements with the federal government. Coming from the crucial meeting, the labor union, sources said, agreed to demand the implementation of the agreement with the federal government without further delay. The federal government's failure to fulfill its pledges after the 14-day ultimatum by Labour, according to sources, will be met with two-day nationwide protests already slated for February 27th and 28th. The head of information of the NLC, Benson Upa, who confirmed the resolution of the meeting, said, according to reports, that the NLC affiliates were being mobilized for the protest just as state chapters of the Congress promised to join the nationwide demonstration. In a memo dated February 18, 2024, also confirmed the meeting and the resolution reached. Signed by General Secretary of the National Union of Public Service Reportorial, Secretarial, Data Processors and Allied Workers Union, Duro Adebisi, and titled Mobilization for Nationwide Protest. The memo read, I write in reference to the subject matter above to inform you that the NEC of Nigeria Labour Congress at its Zoom meeting held on Friday, February 16, 2024, resolved in line with the resolution of NAC and of NLC and that of the TUC, which demands that the agreement between the leadership of the two Labour Youth Centres and government be implemented without further delay, but that if otherwise, after the expiration of the 14-day ultimatum, which will elapse on 22nd February 2024, affiliates should direct its members across the board for a 2-day nationwide protest on 27th and 28th February 2024, respectively. As labour unions mobilized their members for the nationwide protest, there were full queues in Kano, Kaduna, Rivers, and Ogun states, as well as Abuja on Monday, following the strike embarked upon by the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners. It was reported on Friday that the country might witness another round of fuel scarcity as NATO vowed to stop lifting petroleum products beginning from Monday yesterday due to the high cost of operations. A recap of major stories says AI shapes India's 2024 election with deepfake democracy. Australia to construct largest navy since World War II. Defected Russian pilot slain in Spain. Chinese Coast Guard boards Taiwan boat sparks panic. And Putin gifts Kim Jong-un car, reports said. And that's all on the news. Thanks for watching. I am Lois Dureki.